Hey guys, Dark Aperture here, and back with a console killer for an adult game PC. Now this kills, in every way, the current gen consoles. The next gen consoles will be more powerful, I'll admit it. But the thing is, there's quite a few things. First, PCs can be upgraded, so you can make this PC 12 times better in the next gen consoles in say 2 years. And second, sorry, the game prices, and third, just the games in general. I mean, you've got over 2,000 Steam games, I think, by now. Over 2,000 Steam games. And now compared to what? Nearly 100 PS4 and Xbox One games combined? That's pretty much the thing. The PC will have the games from the start. The console won't have the games at launch. And this PC, by the time the console has the games, will be powerful enough to beat the console at the same price. So enough of that. Let's get to the parts list. So here's the parts list. Few minutes, then we'll get on to the build. Now for the processor, we've gone with the AMD A8 5600K. It's not very powerful CPU wise compared to something like, say, the Pentium G860. I'm pretty sure even that beats it. But that's because of its amazing integrated graphics, which kill, I'd say, even the Iris HD 5000. It's also a quad core, and it can crossfire with Radeon graphics cards up to the 6670 and 7670, and you get all that for $110, which I'd say is a pretty good deal. It also looks like it's a pretty decent box art. Oh well, let's move on. Now for an APU, you need good fast RAM. For like say a budget build of a Pentium G860, you could go 1333 MHz RAM, wouldn't affect the performance at all. But with the APU, no, you need like at least 1600 at the least. 1866 being good and 2133 being exceptional. Why? Because the APU's integrated graphics rely on your RAM. They don't have any built-in memory in the integrated graphics. So if your RAM is only 1333, that's going to give a huge performance hit compared to 1866. And that is pretty much why I need fast RAM. So for the RAM we chose G.Skill Ripjaws X DDR3 1866. It's 4 gigs, and it's APU integrated graphics, like I said, with normal RAM. It's also very, very good RAM from G.Skill, which is pretty much one of the kings of RAM. They're priced a little bit better. You wouldn't see a Corsair Vengeance in my builds as much anymore. And it's $40 too, which I'd say is really good pricing for such exceptional memory. Alright, that's the RAM. Now let's move on to the motherboard. For the motherboard, we'll be going with the motherboard with the longest name in history. The MSI FM2 A75MA E35. Now why go for this board? What makes it so amazing? Well, it's got PCI free slot. Is it PCI free? I'm pretty sure it is. If it's not a big deal, still won't matter as much as you think. It's got the socket, it's got dual RAM slots, which is enough for the RAM we have. And here's a little guide to buying FM2 boards. Since FM2 isn't exactly a high-end platform, don't spend over $100 on an FM2 board, unless you're going hardcore here. But the main thing that makes this board great is what my cursor is hovering over here. You see that? That's USB free, and a $64 board, which is pretty good, in my opinion. It's also got a bunch of other ports as well, which is pretty nice as well. I said it as well twice in one sentence. Feel free to point out in top comments and make a drinking game about it if you really want to. Okay, enough of that. Now the graphics card. Now for the graphics card, since the 7670, AMD decided to not be very nice and just give it to the OEMs only. It would have been nice if they made 7670 for us builders. That way we could have even better APU crossfire setups. But, oh well, we're gonna go with the Sapphire Range G6670. Now, what spending $80 just to get 2 gigs isn't really worth it, so this is the 1 gig model. It's pretty powerful for the price, but not very powerful. But what makes this card a good choice is the fact that it'll crossfire with APUs. Your APU giving some pretty insane performance. And that's one of the main reasons people buy this card. It's to crossfire it with an APU. Or so I think. Like I said, it's a 1 gig card. I forgot to point out it's GDDR5, which means it'll be pretty fast memory and and it's $65 too, which I'd say is really good. It's also got only 1 DVI port, so no dual monitors here. Doesn't support it. But you won't be doing multi-monitor gaming on this kind of setup anyway. And now for the hard drive, this is probably the only real compromise in the build. For the hard drive, it's a refurbished Western Digital Caviar Blue 250GB. Now refurb means the warranty won't be as good, the reliability might not be as good, but it's okay. If you're just using this as a gaming build, you can just download your games, and when you're done with them, uninstall them to save space. Look at me, I'm making do with a 320 gig drive, trying to get over to my storage drive, which is a 1TB drive, which is actually faster. Trying to get things over there, but when I can, I'll have it all moved over there and I won't have to worry about storage. But I tried this, and that's what freed up space in my hard drive to make Just Tech Episode 11, which did take a lot of space. And considering this drive is $35, it's the cheapest one I could find that's still at a decent capacity. And for the power supply, we're talking cheap out here, but we're not talking a cheap power supply. What is a cheap power supply? But it's not cheaply made. A cheaply made power supply will kill your computer, which is pretty bad if you didn't catch it already. And the power supply is pretty much the budget build standard, a Corsair CX430. It's overkill for this build, but it would be nice to have some headroom. Since you're going to OC to hell the 8, it's got extremely good quality, as I said, and it'll fit in this build quite easily. It's also $45, which is a pretty good deal. And what's the scale for this one? Blah 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 blah. You know it. Now for the case, we'll be going with a Fractal Design Core 1000. Now this is a first. A case that isn't actually totally cheap in a build of this level. Because typically you'll see builders who make these build lists for you to see. They'll try and get some better, like 2% better specs, but in return they'll pretty much sacrifice on the case and make it a cheap piece of crap. And you don't want a cheap piece of crap case, because you want a computer to be somewhat representable. And that's what this Core 1000 case is. It's sturdily built and it'll be somewhat representable. It'll also hold everything in this build just fine, which just makes this build pretty great, as it is a cheap build, but it won't exactly look cheap, you see, which is pretty nice. It's also $40, and I'd say that's a really phenomenal deal for this case. You could get some better case for the price, I know, but this one is still pretty sturdy. It might be sturdier than those other cases that are bigger, because a bigger case with the same build quality would cost a lot more, so they probably do a lot of plastic and flimsiness in there. And this thing's pretty much really good. That's all I have to say. And also, the total price for this build is exactly $400. Amazing! For the first time, I haven't gone over budget, or under budget. And well, that's pretty much all about this build. It'll kill 7th-gen consoles. It'll be kind of beaten out by the 8th-gen consoles, but it'll still have the games, as I said. And are we here mostly for the games? Aren't the people coming from the console playing the console for the games? So they'd like this build, just the same. Even if the 8th-gen consoles had a bit more power. And plus, this build will probably be cheaper than the Xbox One, because the Xbox One, the rumored price is €400, which I'd say is an estimated $550. That's an estimate. People from Europe, correct me now. Okay. So, hope you enjoyed this simple console-killing $400 budget gaming PC. Subscribe to me, Dark Aperture, if you like this. Helps me out a lot. Leave a like too, and goodbye.